Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto unlocked Super Saiyan mode and build harem with Mikoto, part 2. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this and comment for next part. And now let's start the fanfic. It's because I got rid of that seal on her forehead. Naruto said casually, getting bulged eyes from everyone including the clan heads, especially Hiashi, who saw the chance to rid the side branch of the caged bird seal and unite the Hyuga clan as one. Naruto suddenly asked Hiashi a question. Hiashi Kyofu, may I ask why your clan's elders have the caged bird seal, which is a Juinjutsu of the Uzumaki? Naruto questioned, getting strange looks from everyone, even the Hokage. Naruto sees their confusion. The caged bird seal was a Juinjutsu developed for torturing criminals and nuke Nin for information, but apparently some of the elders placed some seals into it to change Neji Haime's gender and her personality so that she would hate Hinata. Naruto said venomously, planning on killing the elders of the council. Hinata's eyes widened before narrowing as she subconsciously activated her Byakugan and unleashed Anbu-level killing intent with a murderous aura surrounding her, making everyone slowly back away from her. Neji giggles in amusement at her cousin's anger and smirks deviantly, something that Tenten noticed and shuddered at how similar it was to Naruto's. Neji kneels at Naruto's back and his earlobe in front of everyone, making Hinata blush at her cousin's boldness, while Hiashi had to be held by Sume and Inoichi to not meme Naruto. Naruto shivered in pleasure. You know, Neji Haime, if you continue I won't be able to restrain myself in taking you in front of everyone. He said in a husky voice that made Neji shudder at how why he sounds and gasps as Naruto squeezes her. She smacks his shoulder and mock pouts. That was low, Naruto-kun, arousing me for no reason at all. She grinned at him, getting a smug smirk from him. Neji and Naruto got to know each other after the seal was off of her forehead and found out many things about each other that made them both sad and angry. Neji was very angry at how Naruto was treated just for something out of his control. Naruto was saddened at how divided Neji and Hinata's clan was. To put a curse seal to control your own family is disgusting. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze Sabaku vs Ino Yamanaka. Naruto smirked coldly, making Asuma flinch and feel sorry for Ino as he sees both walking toward each other, one with arrogance, the other with confidence and grace. Mayonaka no Orchestra by Aqua Times. Ready to lose, Naruto Baka. Ino screeched arrogantly as she charged at him with 3 bushins behind her, only to see Naruto stomp the floor and twist his foot, causing the earth under Ino to launch her in the air, making her cry out surprise. Elemental bending is something only those who dedicate themselves to training past their limits without giving up. Naruto said sagely as he smashed his fist into the ground, causing an earthquake, shaking Ino off balance before using his shadow step to attack her using his Tai Kenjutsu style, leaving many bruises on the blonde Yamanaka, who was foaming at the mouth in rage. The spectators are looking at the match with awe at how graceful Naruto's fighting style is. Hokage-sama, what Kenjutsu style is Naruto-kun using? Asked Yugao, who was looking to having a fangirl moment, making the Sandame chuckle with mirth. That Yugao is Naruto's personally created hybrid fighting style that uses high-speed maneuvers to counter, attack, and dodge. He has other styles, except 3 of them are so deadly he can permanently destroy someone's career as a shinobi, Sarutobi explained, getting shocked looks from everyone who heard him. What styles are they, Hokage-sama? Guy asked seriously. Nanto Saiken and Hokuto Shinken. He said in a grim tone, making everyone who heard of that style pale even whiter, even the Oto Junin is sweating. Hokage-sama, how did Naruto come into possession of the most deadliest taijutsu styles known to man? He can practically kill someone with using only his fists. Said a hysterical guy who knows how dangerous those 2 styles are. Guy. Naruto has already mastered the styles and has it to the point where he can do crippling blows. Sarutobi stated quickly, seeing the terrified looks. Naruto's fiancés watch the fight from the upper levels and are shocked at his speed and reflexes, I really hope none of Gigi's idiots try to assassinate him, otherwise Naruto-kun is gonna tear them apart. She muttered, rubbing her face. The others nodded in agreement with Kuretsuchi's words. Naruto is beyond the ability of a cage, that is definitely for sure. Naruto uses his sheathed sword to bat away any launched kunai before spin-kicking Ino into the wall, knocking her out completely, ending the match before teleporting next to Kuretsuchi and the others who crowded toward him, looking him over for any injuries. "Himes, I'm fine. Ino didn't land a scratch on me, okay?" he said calmly, causing their worry to dissipate, getting nods before watching the rest of the matches that were no fun. Elite Junin Naruto Namikaze, your undercover mission is complete. Sarutobi announced, getting wide eyes from the genin and others while Anko is looking at him with a lustful grin. Naruto notices her gaze and smiles at her, making Anko have a pink hue on her cheeks. Suddenly he teleports next to her and placed a palm on her shoulder, making Anko give him a surprised look until it morphed into pain. Naruto activates his human path and uses it to pull out a black substance from the seal on Anko's shoulder until it forms into an orb, making his eyes narrow. "So this is Orochimaru's 10. No Juin, glad I had the idea of using my soul-stealing abilities," he muttered before crushing the sphere, only for a scream of rage to erupt from it. The Oto Junin looks at Naruto with rage and vengeance in his eyes before shining away with one last thought. "I swear I will make you suffer for messing with my seal, Namikaze." The man hissed inwardly, not seeing Naruto's smirk. Anko looked at him with tears in her eyes before hugging him like a lifeline, afraid to let him go. Shish, it's all right, Anko-chan, you don't have that stupid seal anymore," he said soothingly to Anko, who suddenly gives him a kiss on the lips, stunning him. "Thank you, Naruto. Jiraiya always said it couldn't be removed," she said lowly, getting a quirked eyebrow. "He said that because his perverted was too damn lazy to study the damn seal," Naruto said in exasperation at a Sannin being so lazy because of her own rank. Naruto listens to the Sandame's speech on the final round for the exams, getting some cries of outrage and nods of understanding from the more calm-headed ones before telling them to take 2 months to come up with different tactics and train more. Naruto heads to the Hokage Tower since he felt some people enter with the Hokage a few minutes ago, and leaves in a blaze of azure blue flames, getting jealous looks from the Junin. Hokage Tower . Naruto appears in the Hokage's office only to smack away a hand with a swirling sphere in it, making his eyes narrow into slits, making the others flinch back at the coldness in his eyes. "Someone's being quite jumpy, aren't we, Ero Sennin?" Naruto said sarcastically, making the women snicker at the jab toward the man's skills. Says the wannabe ninja who probably won by luck. Jiraiya shot back pathetically, making Naruto quirk an eyebrow before disappearing in a blue flash behind the Toad Sannin, making him gasp at the wind-covered Rasengan position to drill him in the back. "I already have surpassed 2 in his own jutsus thanks to my inhuman learning rate. It wasn't hard to figure the Rasengan out since it was basically a cage-level chakra control exercise." Naruto shrugged, seeing their baffled looks. I so guess you mastered your father's flying thunder god jutsu?" asked a multi-hair-colored woman with cold eyes. "Yes, I did. All I had to do was just follow the pull and was able to land it perfectly on my first try," he said proudly, getting amazed looks from everyone except Jiraiya, who was looking kinda jealous. Naruto holds his hand to the woman, which she shakes. "Name's Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze Sabaku. I'm guessing you are Pakura of the Shikuden, correct?" he said, getting a slow nod from the woman. "You know, Pakura, I won't betray your trust, so no need to look at me with such coldness. I know what it's like to be discriminated against for something out of your control," he said sympathetically, getting a look of understanding from the woman. "Thank you, Naruto. I had a hard time trusting people in my own village other than the cage due to people being jealous of me having a Kekkei Genkai," she said sadly. "Bunch of bakas if you ask me. Just because you have a Kekkei Genkai doesn't make the fighter, it's how you wield it," he spoke fiercely. "I would like to talk later if you have time, Naruto." Pakura asked, getting a smile from the container. He pulls out a black tri-prong kunai and hands it to her. If you need me, just pulse your chakra through this kunai and I'll be there in a flash. Pakura nodded in thanks before placing it in her pouch. Jiraiya leers at Pakura while scribbling notes with blood running down his nose, only to roar in pain as a hand of golden sand pokes him in the out the roof and into the hot springs. Everyone looks at the hand and the innocent-looking Naruto before the guys jump back with their hands on their rears, eyeing him warily, making Naruto fall to the floor, laughing his off at them. Nice shot, Naruto-kun, said a blonde woman with a green haori, making him turn to her and gasp seeing her familiar face. Godmother, he whispered, making Tsunade gasp under her breath before hugging him with tears streaming down her face. I thought you were dead. She sobbed, making his eyes widen before narrowing as they changed to a golden amber color. Oji-san, I am this close from going to the homes of the civilian council and executing them using my sand. Naruto said coldly, making everyone sweat from the pressure of Naruto's emerald green aura that is flaring widely. Naruto, calm down, don't waste your breath on them. Tsunade shouted, getting him to slowly clam down with a sigh. Thanks, Godmother, it's just that those have messed with my life enough times already and even made Mikoto leave the village with Itachi knees just for sparing her. He sighed, annoyed, making them narrow their eyes, remembering the Uchiha massacre. Ji-san, why are all of the cages here? Naruto asked curiously. Mai-sama is here due to the marriage contract made by your father, and Oniki are here to see who their daughters are being married to. As for Jiraiya, he's here to make sure the seal is working. He explained, getting a nod but narrows his eyes at the last part. Sorry, Ji-san, I know he is your student, but I am not letting someone like him mess with something too san-made. He is already too lazy that Anko-chan didn't get her curse seal removed earlier. He said heatedly, getting looks from Tsunade and Shizune. Brat, you better show me some respect. I am a genuine seal master, thank you. Jiraiya said smugly, only to get shot down by Naruto's next statement. Then how was I able to destroy the curse seal by removing the soul implanted in it, thanks to you not killing your insane teammate when you had a chance? Naruto shot back, making Jiraiya flinch at his failure. Another thing, Jiraiya, me, I already have Kyuubi's power mastered. Naruto said as he instantly activated his nine-tailed cloak, making his features look more feral, getting odd looks from everyone, even the Hokage. How long can you hold it exactly? The most my brother could hold his cloak was 10 hours at most. Said, analyzing his cloak, noting it looked golden. I trained this power to be able to last as long as I want, thanks to Kyuubi unlocking my demonic heritage, since he holds the Jubi's ability to mark his host as a demon prince. Naruto chuckled, getting a glare from Jiraiya. You would trust a demon to keep his word? He said in disbelief, only to get an ice-cold glare that made him step back. At least Kyuubi took care of me instead of your perverted ass. Naruto snarled, blasting Jiraiya with Kyuubi-powered ki, making the man fall to the floor, clutching his throat. Naruto deactivated the cloak while giving Jiraiya a look of disgust. Not even 0.01% of my killing intent and you're already about to keel over. He said in a bored tone, making the cages sweat at how that wasn't even his full killing intent. Naruto sighed. GG, I have to go to my training ground so I can master my dujutsu further. He said before disappearing in a blue flash, ignoring Jiraiya's idiotic attitude. Namikaze compound training ground . Naruto is sitting in lotus position within his Biju mode, surrounding him in a golden cloak with his hair spiked up more and a cloak similar to his dad's on him, and is subconsciously manipulating his Yuki to form different Rasengan variants. He has been going for more than 5 hours since he placed seals to slow the time perception down tremendously. Naruto suddenly sensed a chakra signature at his door that made him sigh in annoyance, recognizing it was Kakashi and Sasuke, and Kin. That made him raise an eyebrow before flashing toward the entrance to see Sasuke trying to force his way inside, only to get blasted backwards by a kick from Naruto, May I ask what you are doing on my property? Naruto demanded coldly, making Sasuke snarl at him. I want your jutsu sword, and your women dobi. Sasuke demanded, only to get slammed against the wall by a pissed off Naruto, whose eyes flashed into the Rinnegan, glaring deep into the Uchiha heir's eyes. Maybe you didn't heed my warning the first time in Wave Country. Seems I will have to show you the consequences of demanding my fiancés from me, Mugen Tsukuyomi. Naruto said coldly. Tsukuyomi world . Sasuke looks around to see himself, to see a red moon with 9 commas on it, making him sweat, since this reminded him of Itachi's Tsukuyomi. Glad you decided to join us, Sasuke. Naruto's voice sounded out, making Sasuke snap his head toward the voice, only to see Naruto sitting on a throne with 2 kitsune women massaging his scalp. Naruto motioned them to stop, only to get a pout, which he gave them a chaste kiss that gave them a glazed look before walking toward his victim, who was sweating even more as Naruto comes closer. Immediately Sasuke is suddenly chained to a cross with Naruto in front of him, looking at him with an emotionless stare until he pierced Sasuke's leg with his finger, making the boy scream in pain. That was the pain for causing me misery along with your lapdogs in the academy. Naruto said in monotone before pulling out Black Sun, with clones appearing around Sasuke with the same weapon. Now you will be stabbed for the next 72 hours. Prepare yourself, Uchiha. Naruto said in a sadistic tone before piercing Sasuke in the gut, making him grit his teeth, trying to endure the pain, only to gasp as he is stabbed in the back. It's just a genjutsu. It isn't real. Sasuke said in his mind, only to be cut off by a cold, cruel chuckle from Naruto, who gives him an amused look. That is where you are wrong, Sasuke. In this realm I control time, space, even physical mass are under my control. He emphasized this by plunging his katana deeper, making Sasuke cry out in pain. My Tsukuyomi is different than Itachi ni's. His only lasted 72 hours. Mine lasts for an eternity, so don't think you will be getting off easy. Naruto smirked, making Sasuke whimper, only to get stabbed 3 times, making him scream even louder. 71 hours 59 minutes and 59 seconds to go, little Sasuke. Naruto said darkly, making Sasuke scream in horror as Naruto laughs at his tortured screams. Couldn't resist Naruto pulling a Alucard. XXX with Naruto XXX. Sasuke suddenly lets out a blood-chilling scream that made Kakashi's blood run cold as his eyes went glossy with a drop of drool on his mouth. Pathetic, he didn't even last that long. Naruto said in disappointment before throwing him towards Kakashi, making the man slide back from the force. Take that weakling with you and never show your face around my place again, Hatakai. Next time I will turn yours and his mind into a ing vegetable. Naruto growled before knocking both past the gate with a silent Shinra Tensei and went back inside to see Kin looking at him with worry. Don't worry about me, Kin-chan, I've just had a busy day. Go to the training grounds and train. I don't want you to be slacking off. Naruto ordered, getting a nod. I understand, Naruto-sama. Kin said before heading toward the training grounds, making him chuckle at the honorific. You know she has feelings for you, Kit. Kyuubi told his container, who nodded, already noticing the signs. I know, Ni-san, I'll take her on a date after the Chunin exams if Akatsuki doesn't annoy me. Naruto huffed before laying down in his bed. Kyuubi laid down on his paws while thinking of what to say. Kit, just kill them so they won't bother us anymore, and make sure you kill that fake Madara. Kyuubi growled, remembering that moron posing as Madara, ha. Like he could even come close to that man's level. Naruto snorts and closes his eyes to sleep, knowing these 2 months are going to be real troublesome. Time skip. 2 months later. During the 2-month time period, Naruto decided he wasn't going to slack off, so he trained himself non-stop, only stopping to eat, drink, and sleep and train. He also worked on his Yuki control till he could form the Biju Dama with only a little bit of Yuki. He even trained with his fiancées for the invasion and found out that his Rinnegan was a Uzumaki bloodline limit and found out thanks to Kyuubi who modified it he had 9 paths of pain instead of 6. He found the shared vision to be very useful since he could see from different angles. He mastered all the powers of his paths to the point where he could do them with a single thought. He worked on his light technique so he could do it in a single millisecond, something that would impress the samurai in Tetsu no Kuni. He mastered the Rasengan to the point where he could control the size, power, and speed, making it even deadlier than his father's. Minato would be crying man tears from his son's prowess in ninjutsu. He also honed his skills using his aura and taijutsu in conjunction, creating a very deadly combo that would destroy his opponents from the inside out or cause them to implode, getting praises from his brother figure Kyuubi that made him swell in pride, but not where he got arrogant. Kyuubi reminded him of that painfully. He also had a mock spar with his fiancées, and let's just say he was cackling madly since they couldn't hit him, ending up with them chasing at him screaming vengeance, which amused him. He also got to know much more about his godmother and her apprentice Shizune, and found out that much to his small anger that Tsunade was lied to about him being dead was none other than Jiraiya, his own godfather. Just because of a prophecy told to him by his own summons that pissed Naruto off so much that it made him activate his chakra shroud, but was calmed down by Shizune much to her embarrassment. Jiraiya tried many times to put a blocker on him so his abilities won't be so great, too bad he doesn't know about his Biju mode's second form. Naruto looked through his family's scrolls for a second summoning animal that was recommended by his friend K's Taka, the boss summons of the Taka clan, and found the summoning for the phoenixes that had told them that the sage modes for the Taka and Fenikisu clans were the most powerful due to not being limited to increased chakra stores, and enhanced speed, power, and reaction time. They taught their summoners Kenjutsu, ninjutsu from their clans, and their own genjutsu and senjutsu. Naruto immediately signed it and learned that both clans were best friends and agreed to allow him to summon both their clans, but warned them to never associate with the Gamma clan since they seemed to have a habit of spouting prophecy bullshit. The rest of the month was spent with upgrading the village's defenses, with many seals that turned Konoha from a shadow of itself to an unstoppable fortress. Naruto even upgraded the sensor barrier that stretched in every direction to different countries, quite an enormous feat that the Demon Prince achieved. Kushina and the others finally forced him to relax and take a break since all he was doing was training, which he hesitantly accepted and spent the last few weeks with them. That doesn't mean he didn't slack off, he remedied this by summoning thousands of clones. After a span of 2 months was where the final event will begin. Chunin Exam Finals. Naruto looked down at the third match with boredom as he watched his cousin Kankuro act Y in a match with Aburame, shaking his head at the puppet user's overconfidence, and saw Crow stab Shino multiple times only for him to disperse into many bugs that quickly latched onto the chakra strings, causing a distracted Kankuro to pass out from chakra exhaustion. Winner: Shino Aburame. Genma announced, getting roaring approval from the audience at a good match, but there were some boos because of Shino's bloodline, making him frown in distaste at the stupidity of these people. Naruto decided it was illogical to make those who don't understand see the light. Damn, now I'm starting to sound like Shino, he said sarcastically, getting snickers from the other Junin. They suddenly freeze as a hand of earth shot out, pointing their fingers near where the sun don't shine, making them sweat badly since they have been on the receiving end of that move many times. Naruto smiles sweetly. Now what were you going to say? The Junin laugh nervously before bolting out of there, with Naruto watching with amusement, taking note of the cage's dry looks, making him look at them with an innocent look. What? He asked innocently. Don't you give me that innocent look, Naruto-kun. Pakura mock scolded, getting a pout from Naruto, who suddenly smiles seductively, making Pakura shiver all of a sudden. You know. Pakura shudders as she felt Naruto's breath on her neck. I wonder when's the last time you loosened up. Naruto breathed in her ear, making her blush, matching that of a tomato, making the Kazekage snicker before looking away when she glared at him. Naruto suddenly looked down at the arena and scowled as a whirlwind of leaves manifested in the center of the arena, revealing Kakashi and Sasuke back to back, looking smug all of a sudden. G-sama, allow Sasuke his match. I want to see his futile attempt to even harm Gaia. Naruto smiled coldly, getting evil grins from the others. Genma, allow the Uchiha his match even if it is just a futile one. Hiruzen smirked, seeing their angered looks, giving himself a mental pat on the back for his taunt. Kakashi looked at the Sandaime in shock and tried to plead to him, but all he got were cold sneers, meaning this old man wasn't going to bend over backwards for the Uchiha. Kakashi gritted his teeth before body faring up to the stands with the rest of the Junin, who were giving him disappointed looks, making him growl before glaring at Naruto out of the corner of his eye, who had a smirk that said, "This payback bastard. Uzumaki's always get even. Always." Genma looks at the two contestants with a bored look before raising his hand and swinging it down in a chopping motion. "Hajime," he shouted before shining next to Naruto and Kushina. Sasuke smirks before blurring at low Jonin speeds that only made Gaia raise an eyebrow, amused before blocking a punch, and slammed an elbow into his before shifting on her left foot and launched a roundhouse that shot Sasuke back towards the wall, forming a crater. "Is that all, Uke-tem? I thought you boasted about being a god after you tried to save your own neck by using my fiancé as a human shield," Gaia said venomously, her eyes changing to a golden four-pointed star boring into him. Everyone who heard this glared at Kakashi and the Uchiha. Most of it was the shinobi, while the civilians were shouting death threats to her about insulting their Uchiha-sama. Naruto and the others look at the scene with amusement, while the Kazekage gives Naruto a look with mirth in his sea-green eyes. "It seems my Masumi has been affected quite a lot, wouldn't you say, grandson?" He grinned mischievously, making Naruto's eye twitch in annoyance, making the others snicker. Naruto suddenly smirks evilly. "At least I ain't short and limp like someone," he teased, getting snickers from Kushina, Mei, and Tsunade, while the males sulk in the corner. "Haha, you just got your asses burnt." Anko cackled with Kurenai and Kin, while Asuma gives them a dry look. Sasuke glares at her in hatred and envy and again runs his mouth. "Shut up, you nobody, you're nothing but a bastard child of a backwater village," he shouted arrogantly, not seeing the Junin's eyes widen before a massive killing intent slammed down on the arena. Everyone looked up to see Naruto emitting a green battle aura with his Rinnegan glinting dangerously while smiling demonically. "What was that, Sasuke? I didn't hear you correctly. Did you just insult my fiancé's village out in front of me?" Naruto said sweetly, making everyone except Kushina flinch and shiver at the sadistic undertone in his voice. Kushina sighs at Naruto's sadistic nature before patting his head, instantly causing the crushing pressure to dissipate, giving everyone a chance to breath, while Naruto sighs, "Thanks, Kushi-chan," he said boredly. Gaara shakes her head before flipping through one-handed seals, stopping on the dragon seal. "Doden. Taju Doryuden no Jutsu," she shouted as the 5 massive earth dragons emerged from the ground, making Sasuke curse as he barely dodges the earth dragons, while the last one manages to clip his leg, making him scream in pain. "You damn bitch, I'll make sure you suffer in front of your pathetic fiancé," he yelled, only to get a snort from her, making him glare at her even harder before black markings start to spread across his body and a chaotic purple chakra to explode off of him. Sasuke begins to laugh insanely, getting narrowed eyes from everyone while giving glares to a sweating Kakashi who didn't think his student would resort to that. Sasuke suddenly flipped through 3 seals for gripping his hand as a chirping sound caused everyone who recognized that jutsu to snap their eyes toward the insane Uchiha to see him holding a black ball of lightning in his hand. Naruto narrowed his eyes into slits. "It seems, Sasuke has not heeded my warning the last time I put him in that genjutsu, but to use this jutsu against Gaia. It seems he is hoping for death." he said in a calm cold tone, making everyone nod before glaring at a nervous Hitaki. I finally get to have some revenge on the Dobi of a Namikaze by using your cold, dead corpse as an example. He sneered, only getting blank look before blurring out of view, and suddenly Sasuke's world suddenly exploded in pain as he coughed up blood from the fist in his gut, from aboard Gaia. Sasuke blurred away from her, appearing on a wall with a look of madness in his Sharingan eyes before charging the Chidori again before running in a burst of speed at high Jonin levels, lightning trailing behind him. A few more seconds Sasuke slowly approaches her while everything seemed to slow down with his hand an inch from her heart, only for her to phase out of existence, only to appear above Sasuke with a ball of chakra in her hand. Naruto grinned. Do it, Gaia. He shouted, getting a smirk from her before plunging the sphere into Sasuke's back, making him scream in pain as the jutsu exploded, causing a massive boom to sound out. The dust clears to show Gaia standing a few feet away from Sasuke, who had a very big bruise on his back while laying in a crater unconscious. Genma was about to announce the winner when feathers starting floating down the sky, only for everyone's eyes to widen. Genjutsu. They instantly dispelled it as a huge explosion sounded outside of Konoha to see a bunch of huge three-headed snakes stalking toward the gates with a large army of Odo Nin trailing behind them, looking ready to fire off jutsu after jutsu. Naruto suddenly smirked. Hey guys, why don't I introduce you to my new summons? He said sweetly, making everyone pray for the slaughter that's about to commence. Naruto bit his finger and flipped through 5 seals before slamming his hands on the ground. Naiju Kuchios. He shouted as large clouds of smoke blasted everywhere, only to get blown away by a screech to reveal something that made everyone pale. 2 birds, but not any normal birds. There are the boss summons of the legendary Phoenix and Taka clans, Fenikisu, and Taka, the boss of summons that surpass any contract out there, with Naruto standing in the air between them with crimson red marking around his eyes while the irises look like a blazing gold. Kushina gasped, getting everyone's attention. Kushina, what is up with Naruto's eyes? They look different. Tsunade asked, only to get 2 words that made them grin. Senin Moto. Fenikisu looks at his summoner out of the corner of his eye and smirks in pride at how quickly Naruto mastered their arts. Well, it seems you have surpassed my expectations yet again, Booyah. He said in pride while Naruto gives him a smirk before his hair suddenly flashes into a bright gold with electricity sparking around and his eyes turning a blazing scarlet gold with his energy blasting off him like a flame piercing the heavens. He looks over his shoulder at them. For Konoha. He roared, getting war cries from everyone before engaging the enemy with fire burning in their eyes, making him grin seeing their fire renewed. He turned his eye back to his summons. Taka-sama. Fenikisu-sama, take out the snake summons while I take care of the ninja. He ordered, getting devilish grins before the 2 bird summons launched waves of fire and wind at the large snake summons while Naruto uses his Dark Slayer style along with Kuro Taiyo to decimate their forces. With the Junin. Damn, this kid's a freaking kami damn leader, and to have summons for the 2 clans stronger than any other contract out there tells me he will go far. Asuma said, amazed, with the others agreeing except a scarecrow Junin thinking Naruto doesn't deserve those things. With the cage, Kushina, and Tsunade. Kushina sliced Odo Nin's head off while her chakra chains pierce whatever comes close while keeping her eyes out for anything that seems hostile while grinning madly. Yoden. Yokai no Jutsu. Mei's voice shouted before a colossal wave of lava hit a small group of Odo Nin, melting them, instantly getting a whistle from her, knowing that's gonna hurt. Nice shout, Mei-chan. Kushina chirped, getting chuckles from everyone who knew she always lifted the mood even when in battle. They turned to see how Naruto is doing and blanched seeing him flashing from one group to another, leaving sliced and headless bodies. My kami, even Minato wasn't this fast and deadly in the war. A whispered, getting nods from everyone who knew how deadly the Hiraishin was during the war. Naruto suddenly appeared next to them, his body sparking with red and black lightning, Guys, it seems Orochimaru is here for the Uchiha. That's the reason why he has so many snake summons around. He stopped suddenly when he saw two people wearing black cloaks with red clouds on them. One had white beady eyes of a shark with blue skin holding a bandaged Zanbedu-like sword on his shoulder, grinning with bloodlust. The shorter one had an impassive look on his face, his eyes holding disappointment and sadness, three tomos in his eyes. Hoshigake Kisame and Uchiha Itachi, what are you two scum doing here? Naruto scowled, activating his Senin Moto for the Phoenix clan, making him look more menacing. We are here for the Kyuubi, Naruto-kun, Itachi said in monotone. Naruto's blade suddenly burned with black flames, making everyone shiver, seeing how his eyes seems to glint deadly that would make Madara Uchiha piss himself in fear. Tell your organization that Kyuubi ni-san will not be leaving me ever unless you want me to come after you and your bitch buddies in my Biju mode. Naruto narrowed his eyes dangerously while flooding the area with killing intent that made Itachi frown. I'd thought you would have wanted to get rid of Kyuubi, Naruto. Itachi asked, carefully, getting a snort of amusement from Naruto. Whatever gave you that idea, or was it something your masked freak of Uchiha calculated ever since Zetsu, who was hiding, spied on me when I was little? Naruto chuckled in cold amusement, getting wide-eyed looks from both Akatsuki members. Naruto looked at his blade in fake reminiscence. You know, I pride myself in being deadly in Kenjutsu. Do you know why, Itachi-san? He said in a bored tone while his aura roared dangerously before slowly turning his head downward with a sadistic smirk on his face that made them pale. Naruto's sword suddenly blazed with blue and black fire before slamming it into the ground, causing a shockwave to erupt from the ground as something inhumane screams in agony before fading out. The dust cleared to see Naruto holding his sword in one hand with the sheath in the other, the blade making a 30-foot crater. It's because I can launch pure wind pressure by just swinging it with pure strength and speed alone, something no swordsman except Mifune-senpai accomplished. He smirked darkly. How did you find out about our organization, Naruto? Itachi asked him curtly, who gave the Uchiha Slayer a mocking smile. I had some of my root guards, the ones that have emotions, to interrogate Jiraiya's spies, and they sang like a bird. Naruto said with mirth in his eyes while Itachi narrowed his eyes when he spoke of Root. Where is Danzo? Itachi said coldly, only to get a look of dark glee. Executed by yours truly. Naruto grinned, showing his sharp fangs while everyone looked at him, shocked eyes. Itachi looked furious. Why did you kill them? He grounded out, wanting to know the reason for executing loyal Konoha civilians. Naruto gave him a pointed look. They tried to turn Kushina-hime and me into a breeding stock due to my bloodline, something that you would turn a blind eye to, and Miko-hime would be very disgusted in you by how loyal you are to a village full of arrogant bigots that would backstab their own teammate to live just like your bitch of a brother Sasuke. Naruto hissed while unconsciously channeling Kyuubi's chakra. Everyone, even Kyuubi, was scared of the hatred in his voice while Kenshiro gave his little brother a sad look. It seems he reached his breaking point till he couldn't take it anymore. Stupid humans, and you call yous Biju demons. He thought bitterly at how Naruto was treated. Your father would be very disappointed, Naruto. Itachi scolded, making Kushina's eyes widen in horror, looking at Naruto in worry, who had a stony expression on his face till his eyes flashed into the Rinnegan, glowing dangerously. My father would be absolutely disgusted with how far this village has fallen. Everyone damn day I had to train myself till death to do what I wanted after I found out the reason I was hated. Naruto snarled with a dark look in his eye, making everyone, even Orochimaru, who stood on top of Manda with Kabuto, flinch while Fenikisu and Taka looked at him sadness. Naruto continued, I wanted to kill myself because of the beatings, so I would not have to suffer any longer. Kushina looked horrified at this with tears in her eyes, while Tsunade had looked at him with a haunted look in her eye to think he suffered this badly. Kisame looked at the boy with understanding eyes, knowing what it felt like to want the suffering to end, to be free. And they call me a monster. Kisame whispered with understanding, wondering if this organization is worth it. Naruto gained dark gleeful look in his eye. And you know what else, Itachi? Your brother had the gall to say my fiancés were nothing better than breeding stock. He spat, making Itachi twitch. After that, I had so much fun by using one of my personally created genjutsu similar to your Tsukuyomi except 10 times more deadlier. Naruto sneered, making Itachi's eyes widen in fear. Naruto saw this and smirked cruelly. Yes, it is called Mugen Tsukuyomi, a genjutsu that lasts for an eternity, and I had the pleasure of slowly turning this village's prized toy into someone with a more broken mind than Orochimaru. Anko, who heard that, paled and shivered with Ibiki at how gleeful he sounded when he said what he did to Sasuke. Even Kyuubi shook in fear, looking at his brother figure in slight fear, yet pride. Now for the rest of you, I'm going to show why I'm the demon prince of Makai. He shouted before a black skeletal figure surrounded him, taking the form of a fox with 10 tails, one hand holding an okatana while the others held swirling black flame orbs and yellow baleful eyes boring into the Uchiha. Susanoo! Naruto yelled as the figure fully formed into the ultimate Susanoo, the perfect offense and defense. Kisame decided he did not want to fight. Sorry, Itachi, but if what the kid said is correct, you are way too loyal to those who would stab you in the back. He said before standing off to the side till Orochimaru had enough of being ignored and ordered Manda to attack. Naruto turned his cover to the approaching Oto Nin with annoyance in his eye. You're annoying me, be gone. He yelled before commanding his chakra warrior to shoot Amaterasu arrows that exploded on contact. Surprisingly, none of the buildings were damaged thanks to the seals Kushina placed. Kisame whistled in morbid fascination at the way Naruto is destroying Orochimaru's forces and looking bored but alert, and that aura just screamed power and authority, which impressed him greatly at the Itachi Uchiha lose his composure. Naruto sliced, smashed, cut everything in his path using Sealess Jutsu and his Susanoo's arrows to deliver death like a dance, something Madara would be proud of. He sliced another Oto Nin in half before using one of the tails to grab a purple snake with Orochimaru and his assistant on the back. Naruto peered through his black locks, his eyes boring into Manda like he was staring at his soul, like he was in the presence of an alpha. Manda, you will destroy your contract with Orochimaru and have it signed by Mitarashi Anko, is that clear? Naruto said in monotone, getting rapid nods from the snake boss before dispelling much to the Sanin's horror and shock. Kabuto suddenly charged at him, chakra scalpels in each hand, ignoring his master's screams only to cry out in agony from being pierced by the black flame arrows. His healing factor can't even work, which made him even more scared for his life. I know about your healing factor, Kabuto, which is why I had imbued my arrows with Phoenix Fire that stops any healing from happening, a great trump card against a Biju, which I will not use on them unless I have no choice. Naruto frowned at being forced to hurt Kyuubi's brothers and sisters and wonders if he should find a way to get them free. He brought up his sword, swinging it, sending a fast wind pressure that obliterated Kabuto's body into mush that made a lot of rookies queasy and green in the face at what the medic had been reduced to. It seems Masuko isn't afraid to get his hands bloody, no thanks to this village, of course. Gura said angrily at how his family was treated and compared this to his elders and found out this was similar. After Naruto becomes Hokage, I will remind him to get rid of civilian council. I found out that the elders conspired with the Hyuga clan elders to have Hinata turned into a breeding stock. Kushina snarled in disgust, making Neji and Hinata, who were nearby, activate their Byakugan in rage. Someone's going to lose a very important part of their male Aton Amy when we find them. Both girls said in a dark voice, making all the males except Naruto cover their crotches with their hands. Maybe I should teach them how to channel Raiden and Kaden chakra so it can be more painful. Naruto said in dark glee, making the girls squeal in delight, getting blank looks from Anko and Ibiki. Ibiki. Anko called. Yes, Anko. He asked, getting a terrified look from the usually loud, bold woman. I don't want to ever be tortured by them, even I'm not the crazy. She whimpered, hiding behind Ibiki only to get more giggles, making her shriek and curl into a ball. Anko, stop whining, they aren't going to haunt you. Kurenai deadpanned only to get a pout from her friend. Naruto turned to Orochimaru and Itachi. I think it's time to drop the curtain on this charade, he said coldly as he pointed his okatana at the two, his tuki flaring like a roaring flame. I will not allow you to destroy my ambitions, boy. 8 Serpent's Head Jutsu. Orochimaru yelled before his body transformed into a giant 8-headed white snake, making Tsunade and Jiraiya blanch in disgust at what their former teammate did to himself. Naruto gave the serpent a blank look before stabbing the middle one with a blade, getting a shriek of pain as Orochimaru jumps out of its mouth with Kusanagi poised to stab him. Naruto channeled water and lightning chakra to his hand, getting a shroud of spiraling electricity and water around his hand before blurring behind Orochimaru in midair. Storm Blade. He yelled before stabbing downward, causing him and Orochimaru to plummet down, causing a massive shockwave that almost knocked everyone over. The smoke cleared to show Naruto standing in a small crater, electricity sparking everywhere, with him staring at a charred outline before turning to Itachi, who flinched at the look in his eye. Tell your fake god, the real descendant of the Rakuto Sennin and heir of Biju is in this world, tell that fake Madara wannabe that he will pay with his life for ruining mine. Naruto growled at Itachi, who nodded quickly before shining away to their base. Everyone cheered, including the summons, except a few people for Naruto who were already rethinking their views on him, making the demon heir smile before walking towards his family, with the cheers still chorusing, ignoring Jiraiya and Kakashi's looks of jealousy. Hiruzen and the others smiled. Great job, Narukoi, I know Minato would be happy for us. Kushina smiled, getting a nod from Naruto, who knows his dad is smiling down at him with pride. Kami's realm equals. Minato Namikaze is looking at his son with the other gods in happiness and pride. I already am proud of you, Soichi. Take care of Kushina-chan for me until your time comes, he said quietly with tears running down his face. With Naruto and company. Naruto looked up and grinned. Love you too, dad, he whispered before drinking sake with the rest of his friends and girls, who are getting quite frisky with overprotective parents glaring at him only to get a raspberry blue at them, making them giggle. So Naruto, how far have you come along with your summoning training? Hiruzen asked. Naruto rubbed his hair. I mastered both my summon sage mode to the point where I can use it for weeks and gather nature chakra even when I'm moving and activate it instantly. He grinned, getting gobsmacked looks from those who had summons. My summons also have a major dislike of prophecies, just as I do, especially after hearing that Toad Sanin spout hypocritical bullshit just like Kakashi. Naruto sneered, getting similar looks from everyone at how far the Hatake had fallen. Keep an eye on Sasuke, no doubt he will try to defect since he lost to Gaia-chan, Naruto said soothingly as he kissed a half-asleep Gaia on the forehead, making her snuggle into his chest even more. Kushina nodded. He even had the audacity to teach someone as unstable as him an A-rank assassination jutsu, she said with disbelieving eyes, getting an annoyed sigh from Naruto. Yes, he is probably mad that his jutsu had no effect on me since I can absorb natural lightning from any jutsu, he said smugly for one-upping the scarecrow Junin. Kushina grinned before ing his whisker marks, getting a playful flare from Naruto. Do that again and someone gets punished, he said darkly, getting a saucy smirk from Kushina while the others looked on in amusement. Naruto suddenly sensed a few chakra signatures heading toward the gate. One of them made his eyes narrow as it was Sasuke's, the others had Orochimaru's signature on it. Naruto picked up his katana, getting confused looks. Seemed Sasuke waited until nighttime to break out to escape since he isn't getting more power. He sighed, getting nods from everyone. Kushina, Mei, Kuro-chan, Fu-chan, Neji with me, Naruto ordered before blurring with the others toward Sasuke, who was heading towards Sound Country with Orochimaru's bodyguards. With the Sound 5. Karen and Tayuya eyes twitch at the sneering looks Sasuke is sending their way, with the others glancing at them wary looks since their tempers were short as a damn paper bomb. Uchiha, if you sneer at me one more time, I am going to turn you into a female permanently. Karen sneered venomously, making him flinch. All bark and no bite. Seems like your sneer reminds him of someone. Karen. Tayuya grinned demonically, only for a voice to make everyone freeze. So Orochimaru had two of my Uzumaki cousins in his clutches, huh? Said a smooth voice that turned Karen and Tayuya's legs feel like jelly, only to see the most handsome boy in their life with elegant black hair and gold locks. His clothes made him look like a kami-given Adonis, especially the tight sleeveless black shirt that hugged his frame tightly and baggy black jeans with combat boots, his sword Kuro Taiyo tucked into a red rope-like belt tied in loops in the back. Naruto stared at the two red-haired girls, who can't help but stare at his beautiful sky-blue eyes that sparkled and held pain and hurt in them and understanding. Do you want to be with your family, Karen and Tayuya? He asked softly, getting nods before they blurred away, shocking Sasuke and the others with their speed. Both girls latched onto his arms just as Kushina and the others walked into view, giving Sasuke and the other Oto-nin cold looks. Now what to do with you? Naruto said with amusement, using one of his space-time jutsus on the two-headed boy, who screamed as his body was torn apart by the spinning vortex. Sasuke and the others decided to retreat and make a break for it, getting cold laughter from Naruto's group making them speed up to get away. With Sasuke. Sasuke sweats while looking around with wary eyes before hearing a scream to see Jirobo decapitated, making him and Kidomaru panic and run until they reached the forest, only for the spider boy to get pierced through the heart by a hand of water and lightning. Well, still alive, I see, Uchiha. Naruto said, amused at his prey's attempt to outrun him. What he doesn't know is that he has a Hiraishin seal placed on his head. Sasuke would have spoken if a white-haired teenager tried to attack Naruto, only to get explode in blood and gore, making the Uchiha air vomit to see Naruto look at the death with calm eyes. He took that chance to use his curse seal to move faster toward the valley of the end. Going somewhere, Sasuke? Naruto said coldly, looking behind him to see the black-haired teen looking down on him like a bug that needs to be squashed, only to roar in rage before charging at him with a Chidori blazing in its glory, only to scream in pain as Naruto absorbed the lightning before redirecting it in his body, electrocuting him till he was nothing but a charred corpse. He suddenly heard a scream of fury. Die! Demon! Reikiri! Kakushi's voice shouted in midair with an insane look in his eyes, only for Naruto to point his finger at him with a black glowing orb on his finger. Sero. Naruto said before a black and red outlined beam shot from his finger, engulfing the Hitaki in blackness, turning his body to ashes instantly with nothing left. Pwned bitch. Naruto muttered before turning his head to see an orange-masked man wearing a Akatsuki cloak. Your days are numbered, Akatsuki. Know that I will be watching. Naruto said darkly before vanishing in a swirling vortex, only to get a roar of fury from the masked man. Damn you, Uzumaki! The man roared to the heavens, only to get mocking laughter, making him even more furious. Even now the brat mocks him relentlessly. Konoha West Gate. Many people, civilians and ninja alike, awaited Naruto and a few others at the gate. Most of the ones waiting arrogantly thought that the demon brat would bring Sasuke-sama back perfectly intact without a scratch marring his perfect body. Kaide. Gay much. Many scooted away from the clearly deranged civilians and ninja. Kushina stood calmly with a serene, patient look on her face, as did Gaia, Kuretsuchi, Neji, Sum and Yugao, along with a contingent of their personal Anbu. Why so many Anbu at the gate? Kushina explained at how she felt that the Uchiha supporters were going to try something very stupid, as she knew her Soichi-kun-sama wouldn't bring the last loyal Uchiha back alive, nor would the one-eyed Hitaki come back alive, and concluded both had been killed by the demon prince himself. She smirked, as did Naruto's other mates or fiancés, cheering inwardly at the fact another two shit stains were wiped off the face of the earth. Naruto-sama has erased Hitaki Tem and Uchiha Baka in a small amount of time it seems. Anko said through the newly discovered telepathic link from the mate mark Naruto gave after he gave them an Uzumaki Namikaze style ink to remember. Mikoto-chan will be sad her son has been removed from the physical plane of existence, but she'll get over it soon. Kushina stated with not a touch of remorse at the death of the problem child of the Uchiha. Inwardly she cackled with glee at the fact they'd have no more interruptions from Hitaki and his faggot Uchiha student. Yes, such a shame, such an accomplished young genin's life has been cut short so suddenly. Yugao continued calmly, but Kushina, Enko and the others heard the sadistic mocking tone underneath and they all smirked or snickered in amusement. Naruto-kun could have brought him back for us to torture at least. Gaia pouted childishly through the link, earning roaring laughter from Anko, Kushina and Yugao. Hinata and the others' sweat dropped, laughing awkwardly at the mental insane cackling and laughter. Honestly, they have no shame. Neji said, rolling her eyes, ignoring the pout from Anko, and her eyes lit up when she saw Naruto approaching with a bored look with a fair bit of blood caked on the right side of his face. Wrapped around his arms were two redheads, that made Kushina raise an eyebrow in interest and curiosity. Kushina Oka-chan, I have two Uzumakis with me seeking asylum. Can you get one of the Anbu to call Tsunade Daibo and Sarutobi Oji-sama here? Kushina motioned her head to one of the Anbu who lent her ear as the Red Death muttered silently. With a nod the horse-masked Anbu sunshined in a small burst of wind. Naruto took note of the expectant-looking shinobi and civilians glaring at him only to get a narrow-eyed glare in return, faring with demonic intent. Clearly this must have been planned if these fools are acting out so openly, knowing how much support and clout I have. I sense something else at work here. Something divine or demonic, whoever it is. His left eye flashed into his dujutsu maliciously and furiously. I'll show them my displeasure at thinking these humans can make me freaking cower and submit. He growled in his chest. Stopping quite a ways from the gate, he mentally used his most favorite jutsu. With a displacement of air came a shadow clone. Taiyu-chan. Karen-chan, go with my clone. I do not want you to be in the crossfire. Go now. He ordered urgently. The two redheads looked at each other and then him with an unsure, worried look. Be safe, Naruto-kun-sama. I feel I have much to look towards with you. Karen said shyly with concern. Naruto's eyes softened, as did Tayuya and his shadow clone. Don't worry about Boss-sama. SC Naruto grinned at his creator, who smirked in amusement and fondness at his clone's confidence. Nothing. And I mean no obstacle or roadblock is unpassable when it comes to him. The clone leapt off with Karen and Tayuya in tow. The two redheads gave him glances begging him to come back to them alive. I promise I won't disappoint you, Karen. Taiyu, these pests are going to learn their play here and now. Naruto saw the glares deepen at the lack of their Uchiha-sama and started cracking their knuckles. In response, Naruto boredly rolled his shoulders and cracked his neck side to side, slowly getting his blood flowing and ready. Where is the Uchiha brat? One bald-headed Chunin demanded pompously, only getting a cold stare from Yugao to shut his trap. Surprisingly, the weakling had some self-preservation instincts. I dealt with the Uchiha and his backstabbing sensei like all traitors should be. What else? Naruto shrugged in unconcern at the fact, admitting that he murdered the two helpless whelps with no remorse. Silence. Before the civilians and shinobi began spitting nails. You bastard, do you realize what you've done? You murdered Uchiha-sama. Sasuke-kun. You've been getting too high and mighty for me to stomach, you little demon shit. Let's get this piece of shit demon, guys. Yeah, let's execute him. No one can stop this many of us. Naruto's face stayed impassive at the slew of death threats and weak ki blasted at him before putting his fist in his open palm, and then crack, pop. A few flinched when Naruto cracked and popped his knuckles as a black-red tinged like flame aura slowly flowed around him. You little pieces of shit are nothing but ants that I step on daily. You think I am the same kid you used to chase and try to kill like an animal. Not anymore. I'm the ing predator here, and if you got balls, make sure you got the strength to back up your threats, or else I'll tear you all apart like I should have done. Naruto growled, showing his slowly extending fangs. His eyelids gained black circles, followed by the eyes turning blood red with black sclera with branched out blood red veins. A woman scoffed. She had messy strawberry blonde hair and red eyes that somehow made Naruto's eyes narrow at her, and sniffed briefly only to smell the stench of Makai on this wench. Boys, bring me this boy. I haven't had a toy to break in yet. I would have went after the Hyuga heiress, but she's too protected thanks to this child thinking he's all big and grown. The bitch continued looking at Naruto when she said, boy, but his pupils dilated widely when his mind came to the conclusion of what this whore would have had Hinata go through. What did you just say you were going to do to my Hinata? Naruto's voice came out as a demonically cold slow drawl growing into a snarl. Suddenly his top ripped slightly, his body grew in bulk and height. His hair, much to Kushina's shock, began gaining slowly, a few streaks of bright green slowly floating upwards. Naruto gritted his teeth tightly as the earth started to shake and rumble. You can threaten me. You can call me a bastard and I wouldn't give a damn. He growled out in a more ferocious demon voice. His arms bulged with tensed muscle. The flame-like aura around him intensified with an inhuman roar, causing a shockwave to lash out, knocking several people over. Naruto. His eyes turned to a white-on-red pupilless glow. The streaks then were joined by ominous light red and magma-orange streaks. His hair grew in length into a mane that went over his shoulders, sparking with black and red lightning. But when you threaten my mates, my loved ones, is the day you pay with your existence. A crimson-red tail suddenly sprouted from above his tailbone, causing Kushina's eyes to widen in utter shock and realization, and also fear. Dragon Ball Z Super Saiyan God Broly theme. Ha 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 ha. Yes, this power is so euphoric. Naruto threw his head back, laughing darkly. His body bulged even more and his height went up to 7 feet 3 with steel-hard muscles. His shirt lay in tatters around him. What is this demon sorcery? The bitch screeched in terror, inwardly praying for her mistress to come save her, only getting a wide-fanged grin of insanity. Oh no, there's no way that's gonna be able to save you from me. Out here I am God now. Beams of light arced out as Naruto's aura turned flame blood red and became more wild, causing trees to shatter, earth to crack and wind to howl. I am Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, descendant of the ancestor to the Uzumaki clan, the monster known as Broly. Naruto's voice twisted into a mix of his own and another's. Kushina gasped. It's true. Broly is our clan's ancestor, not the Rakuto Sennin. But where did our longevity come from? Kushina snapped from her thoughts when Naruto's chakra and another wild energy began rising, and rising. Attack him already, you imbeciles. Don't let his power get any higher. The woman now had snake-like features and even a tail waving in fear and anxiety under her tish dress. The mob charged at Naruto with roars, weapons and jutsus flying, only to get a dark cold smirk in return, and before their eyes a wide sphere of red appeared around Naruto that caused the attacks to disperse harmlessly against the barrier. Time for some fun. Naruto cackled and touched the ground and charged straight towards them like a speeding wrecking ball. Doden. Doryuaheki. Naruto simply grinned wider, eyes glowing brighter, and simply smashed through the barrier with a bang. Opening his palm, red electricity crackled before a beam of red energy blasted forward, arcing with black lightning. Full power energy wave. Boom. Ha 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 ha. Is that all? Now you are all dead. No big surprise at that, ha 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 ha. Naruto flared his power even higher, unknowingly catching the attention of his other kin. Far, far away in another part of the galaxy, a few people were sparring, suddenly stopped, looking up with shock. As that power It feels like that of our previous Saiyan god state, and it's like. The women with the spiked up hair had ashen skin. Brawly. Lord Beerus, might I inquire? We make haste and bring the other warriors to assess the threat. An anthro-looking purple-skinned cat spoke up with a glimmer of interest in her gold-slitted eyes. Yes, Vegeta. Let us pay this potential Super Saiyan god a visit. And I think we should make haste. I have a feeling the other gods and goddesses are just now noticing this being right at this moment. This time a blue-skinned female spoke up with a chipper, upbeat tone. Surprisingly, this one's power feels like it's both wild yet tightly controlled. Most interesting. The female known as Whis spoke with a gleam of interest, earning a similar one from the shorter cat woman. Indeed, Sensei. I want to fight him and see if this one can surpass me. Let us move. Whis. Let's go. Whis nodded with a smile as the only man named Goku along with Verena and Lady Beerus. Very well, Lady Beerus, we shall depart now and hold onto your hats, hee. Whis smirked as the group became engulfed in cerulean cloak of energy before vanishing with a flash of a blue light pillar. Back with Naruto. Ah! One man cried out before charging at Naruto, swinging a kukri wildly, only to disintegrate upon coming into contact with a bored-looking Naruto's red spherical barrier. The shinobi and civilians cursed loudly as nothing they did had any effect on him. Is that all? Try harder, please. Naruto showed a fanged mocking smile and guffawed when one more idiot ran recklessly into the barrier, getting turned into ash again. Getting a wicked grin on his face, Naruto clenched his right fist, causing a red glow to emanate from it, causing the woman to feel dread, and dived into an alleyway just in time. Trap shooter. Naruto flung out his hand in an arc and fired energy orbs the size of a human's head spread out in a wall formation like bullets. Crap scatter. Several ninja and then some grabbed civilians close to them and shunshined out of the attack's path. However, their friends were a bit too slow in reacting before they became consumed in a crimson explosion. Is that your best, you toothless worms? Naruto said with an unimpressed tone, getting roars of bloodlust and rage at the demon brat's gall. Kaden. Hausenka no Jutsu. Fortunen spat a barrage of mid-sized fireballs at Naruto, who turned off his barrier, walking forward, letting the attacks collide against him. Yes, we got him. Their cheers died down before they could gain momentum at the sight of a blankly glaring Naruto towering over them with no burn mark or bruise on his body. Was that supposed to hurt, insect? Naruto smirked, grabbed one by his skull and squeezed tightly. Pop. Squelch. They screamed girlishly when the poor unfortunate victim's head came off with a wet pop, the bloody head hitting the ground with a thud. And to add insult to the dead, Naruto crushed it beneath his heel with a loud splat. So sad. If this is your best, then maybe I have to be slower or weaken myself. He tilted his head mockingly, with insanity coming from those glowing pupilless eyes of his. Naruto gets an odd look on his face, then frowns. I believe I'm done. As entertaining of punching bags you make, there's simply no more enjoyment to be found here. This makes his so-called executioners sweat and pale in mounting horror and desperation. Wait. We can play a game of 20 questions. Idiot 1 said hysterically, getting a darkly amused look in response. Okay. Question 1. Are you about to die? They flinched. No. Naruto lifted a finger, waving it slowly and mockingly. No lying. Damn. Idiot 2 cursed, sweating heavily, fueling Naruto's rampant sadism. Naruto starts laughing darkly and insanely as he flies into the air, flaring his aura, and holds out his palm before dark red energy pulses started to emanate from towards his hand, gathering into a small crimson red orb. Stare into the image of your demise, the gaping jaws of the abyss. He aimed to swing outwardly to fling the orb, only for a massive power to flare up on his sensory range. Enough. A blow forced his arm up, sending the orb into the sky, where it expanded into gigantic sphere of crimson red, soaring into the night sky, where it exploded with a loud boom. Another blow came at him, which he blocked with his forearm. And just who are you? Naruto pupilless white-on-red glowing eyes came into contact with shining azure blue eyes and saw it was a female with the same colored hair that was just as spiky as his falling over her shoulders like a mane. You. Naruto tilted his head before a memory flashed in his mind, and surprisingly he calmed down. I know you. Not in person yet I feel like I should. You are just like me it seems. He smirked slightly when the woman's cheeks flushed slightly pink. But that changed when a man bearing the same shining azure blue hair came into view before sharp pain hit his head and gripped it tightly, stumbling backwards. You. Kakarot. 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 Naruto's eyes blazed blood red before attempting to charge the stunned man only to skid to a stop, gripping his head tightly trying to get his mind under control. No. I refuse to act like a wild animal. Raw h. He yelled, flaring his energy and chakra with sheer emotional rage, fueling it, causing his aura to blast into the sky like a flaming red pillar. Sorry for this, Saiyan-kun, but you need to take a nap. A female voice spoke up behind him, making Naruto stiffen before he fell limp into someone's arms. Behind him stood Whis, looking apologetic, hefting him over her shoulder delicately. Song end. Took you long enough, Whis-sensei. The irate woman growled dangerously, getting tinkling amused laughter from Whis at her Saiyan student's cute ire. And what do you think you are doing holding my mate in your arms, woman? A cold voice hissed below them, and they all looked down to see Kushina along with Naruto's other mates glaring at them coldly and in protective fury. Oh my, I think we may be looking at this young one's mates it seems. Whis rubbed her head sheepishly. The man called Goku waved his hands placatingly. I'm sorry, Miss Uzumaki, but this fella's power got our attention, and to our surprise he's a Saiyan god like me and Verena here, yet he holds a lot of bottled up rage we felt even from our planet. Goku frowned at that and looked over the villagers, frowning even deeper, sensing they were hiding something. Don't bother trying to discern answers from filth like them, they don't deserve not an ounce of mercy. Hinata spoke up coldly, setting her pearl pupilless colored eyes on the villagers, who flinched, earning Verena and Beerus's attention. This Naruto Booya here has another one's memories it seems. Memories with a certain trigger to it, and by the way he reacted to the sight of Goku I can guess your ninja clan must have had a Saiyan ancestor, because your ki is on par with Verena herself, while this one's ki is actually on par with my power at 85%, and it is still growing. So tell me, why do I also see the signs of physical and emotional abuse on someone so young? Beerus's cheerful voice turned extremely cold, sinister and very protective, making Goku, Verena and even Whis stiffen, feeling a bit of fear as she was never this angry before. Kushina and the other girls in Naruto's collective, otherwise known as harem, to the British term I suppose harem, looked at the goddess of destruction with speculative looks, wondering when did this strange cat-looking female who barely even knew Naruto looked like she wanted to incinerate this whole planet. If you want to hear about what this village has done to Naruto-kun despite my best efforts, then you can ask me. Sarutobi Hiruzen's wizened voice spoke up, surprisingly floating up beside them with a smile. Old man, you're a Saiyan too. The old cage released his henge, showing his signs of old age gone now, showing he had black hair instead of balding, all his liver spots gone, his muscular stature was more pronounced, and he wasn't hunched a bit in the shoulders and back. Oh ho. Interesting. Now tell me, Hiruzen-san. Beerus said respectfully at first, then her eyes glittered dangerously. What happened to young Naruto Booya as a child? Hiruzen sighed, leveling the villagers a nasty, disgusted stare. Sandame-sama, please do not tell this creature we were doing what was right and just. Another idiot wailed with crocodile tears, getting an even frostier look from the Anbu, Sandame, and Naruto's mates. Since you want to know the truth, Beerus-sama, let me tell you of the events leading from October 13th, the day Naruto was nearly condemned to a life of loneliness. Beerus, Verena, Whis and Goku gained a feeling they were not going to like this tale at all, and had a feeling that several others would feel the same way. No one had any idea